Okay, I knew one thing this morning when it became obvious it was time for me to come outside and record my video for Acts chapter 24. And that one big, extremely important thing was that I knew that today I wanted to wear my beloved WKRP in Cincinnati shirt so I could, invoke the spirit of Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap, Herb Tarlick, Les Nessman, the whole cast, and just have a great time. But then it's cold, so I had to resort to wearing a flannel shirt. Now, I have been wanting to pull out my plaid flannel shirts for a while, and now here we are, September 15th. I actually did this for a while last night, being outside, September 14th. I love it. I love the fall. And then I come out, and I sat in our backyard over that way, and I prayed over the scripture as I like to do and as I've challenged you to do. And I realized that, you know what? We are called to be out in the highways with what we believe. And we live, as you can probably hear, right on a state highway. We live smack dab in Newcastle, Kentucky. There goes a big tricked out truck right in front of me, where everybody drives between Campbellsburg and I-71 and Shelbyville and I-64. So it's kind of like a crossroads of Kentucky. And we can't be ashamed of the gospel. So I'm sitting right here in front of our house and in front of Highway 55. There are probably going to be people calling the police, calling for a paddy wagon to come and pick up this weirdo sitting in his front yard reading scripture. But that's okay. And then as I'm sitting here preparing to start the video, I realize I can't see a thing because the sun is right there. I mean, like, I'm facing as due east as you possibly can. So I went and put on my Alvarado Roadshow hat. So without any further ado, 8 weeks in the book of Acts, up to chapter 24. We have one more Sunday this week, and then I'll read through a few more chapters and finish up the series on the following Sunday, the 24th. So this has been a long-distance study of Acts. We'll go after that into the book of Romans and keep going through the Bible. We need to be in the Bible every single day. So the scripture I have today is the first 9 verses of chapter 24. And what's been happening as I've been reading these last few chapters is that Paul is being detained. And quite a few folks in Jerusalem want to kill him. And they have a plot. The plot got out, and Paul's nephew, in fact, heard about it and has kind of helped keep people away from killing him through a commander of the centurions, Claudius Lysias. And now he's appearing to Felix and other authorities in Jerusalem. Jesus has told him that you're going to have to even go to Rome. So it's getting hot. These first 9 verses, it says, "Now after 5 days, Ananias, the high priest, came down with the elders and a certain orator named Tertullus. These gave evidence to the governor against Paul. And when he was called upon, Tertullus began his accusation, saying, 'Seeing that through you we enjoy great peace and prosperity is being brought to this nation by your foresight, we accept it always and in all places, most noble Felix, with all thankfulness. Nevertheless, not to be tedious to you any further, I beg you to hear, by your courtesy, a few words from us. For we have found this man a plague, a creator of dissension among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. He even tried to profane the temple, and we seized him and wanted to judge him according to our law. But the commander Lysias came by and with great violence took him out of our hands, commanding his accusers to come to you. By examining him yourself, you may ascertain all these things of which we accuse him.' And the Jews also assented, maintaining that these things were so." This is a load of bull. This is essentially a kangaroo court being set up against Paul. They have 3 main charges against him, and I'm looking at a study Bible. This is a New King James Version that I have been reading throughout this study. And it says in the study notes that the 3 main charges are political treason, religious heresy, and temple desecration. because they're saying that for the political reasons, he's causing riots throughout the empire, which basically it's the folks choosing Jesus over the old ways. That's not a riot, that's truth. That he spoke against the law of Moses, so they're saying that's a religious heresy because they're not going for just the old Jewish ways. They're going for a completed Judaism, meaning following the Messiah, Jesus. And then finally, the desecration of the temple is because he took a Gentile into the Jewish courts, opening the gospel to not just Jews, but to Gentiles as well, meaning everyone else. The gospel's open. The scripture I'm going to share on Sunday morning, also from this chapter 24, is about Felix, the one in charge here that the charges are being read in front of. And you're going to see quite an attitude out of him. It's going to be something that might be surprising to you and which seems very relevant and very today. So tune into that. Sunday morning we will have our worship. Remember, we have 10 o'clock our Emmaus Chrysalis REC meeting for those who in our church family have been on that retreat weekend. 11 o'clock worship time. Right after worship, 12 or 12:15, we have a board meeting. And then finally at 2:30 we have a softball game. It's quite a week end for Drennan. So get yourself out, hear the rest of the story of Acts chapter 24, and tune in as we continue to teach from this throughout this week and next before going into the book of Romans. And thanks for joining us here at the Dukes of Hazzard Appreciation Society on Highway 55 in Newcastle, KY. See you soon.